All right. I think we are live. Well, good to meet you, Mitch. I am Jeff, the Everyday Carnivore. I want to welcome everyone as they come in. We are here tonight. Two old guys who practice carnivore are just going to share some stories and some experiences. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I want to highly encourage you to think of some creative questions for Mitch. I know he does a lot of live streaming and you get to ask him questions all the time, but I would love to hear you really put him on the spot.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
so if you put a question in the comments, want to encourage you to put a question mark or a Q at the beginning, something like that, that really draws attention to the fact that it's a question, because a lot of times people get some comments rolling and it's hard in. As you enter, I'd love to hear where you're from so that we can kind of acknowledge the different people that are logging in from around the world. And so we'll take a moment and say hi to some of you now. Quitting diabetes. All right. Yes. Good to have you here. United Carnivore from Tampa Bay. You can shout out some of these folks that are probably familiar to you, Mitch.
Well, Coco's one of mine.
Yeah,
Mark C is one of mine, member of my private community. Richard Williams
from Kentucky,
from
Christine.
no, from Copper Hill, Tennessee. And Richard lets you know it every time he chimes in. Hi, Richard. How are you? How are you? We're going to have a real mix here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. HVAC from Iowa. Coco says they're from Florida. All right.
St.
St.
Pete
Pete.
Beach, yeah.
Now,
So,
did you say you were from Florida, Mitch?
well, I'm originally from Philadelphia,
That's
and
right.
but
In
I've
Florida.
been in Florida over 50 years.
Oh,
50
okay.
years, yeah. So
Okay.
I consider myself a Floridian.
Sure. You gonna say that name?
Uh,
Ryugami? Mikado
Mikado. I got that part of it. No,
from
from the
Philippines.
Philippines. Yeah, look at
Howdy.
that. How are
I
you?
I'd have to do the math to figure out what time it is there. It's probably morning,
I
sometime
I
late morning,
recognize Mama Cracker and Linda G. How you doing?
right? From
Yeah.
Quebec. Very
Wow.
cool.
Wow. This is like a bad marriage. We've got yours, mine, and ours. I'm sure we have some cross subscriptions between you and me. Surely somebody that subscribed to me is also subscribed to you.
I believe so. That's actually how I found your channel. Guys, a lot of times you've been watching YouTube for a while. You've watched a lot of different carnivore content creators, and you think you've seen it all. And as a creator, I can go into my YouTube studio and see the different people that people on my channel watch. And sometimes I've found people like Mitch who have made hundreds of videos, and I've never seen one of them.
That's what
And
happens. That's what
and
happens.
so that's how we got connected.
Yeah, we've been trying to get this together since last year. Well, last year wasn't that long ago, but it's been about a month, I think,
Yeah.
since you first emailed me. And
Yeah.
I do very few of these.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know why. I'm just busy, and I get a lot of people want me to come on, and I just don't have the time. I do two
Sure.
live streams of my own and make all these videos and have some life besides that.
Somewhat.
I see the Primal Timeline. That's Pete. Have you seen his stuff yet?
I don't think so. I'll have
Okay, he's
to
brand new.
check them
Brand
out.
new. He's from Australia. The reason I admire him so much is I was the first guest on his first video. So,
Oh, wow. Cool.
and Pete is a professional editor in the entertainment in the broadcast industry over there, and
Okay.
his editing is way beyond the kind of average YouTube stuff. So,
Yeah.
and he did a great job. So check him
So
out. Check him out.
remind me his name. You said Primal
Pete,
Timeline?
Primal Timeline. Pete. Yeah,
Pete. Okay.
yeah. Check him out.
Very cool.
I've been his biggest promoter here. He owes me. He owes me so big. I'll tell you.
Mama Cracker, thank you. I appreciate it. I love to have some new folks join our community. So Thank you for that.
I thought your name was Larry.
Oh yeah. So I was surprised to find out that Larry was going to interview you tonight when I was watching your live stream last night, and it kind of gave me a chuckle. Uh, for everyone, before we got on tonight, I was telling Mitch that I really wanted to take the time to find a huge name tag that said Larry on it today. I just didn't get to it. Um,
I knew I was going to get a hard time, so I thought I'd beat him to the punch. See?
All right, Texan Carnivore says 8 a.m. in the Philippines. Well, I appreciate you joining
Wow,
us
wow.
first thing in the morning.
They get up early. Well, I don't see a viewer count anywhere.
We're up to 54 right now.
Okay, I
So,
see 52 on my version of the live stream on my channel. I don't know what's happening on yours, but that's good. That's good. We're
yeah,
off to a nice little start here for two bald-headed old farts with gray beards. You know.
welcome in, everybody. So, I'm going to go ahead and start asking a few questions. You guys speak up if you have questions you'd like to add, and you can pick on one of us in particular if you like, or just ask us in general. That's totally fine. So the first thing that I wanted to ask Mitch was, tell me about your logo. What is up with the smoking guy?
Well, you can see him right there next to the door behind me, right over the plant. I'm a cigar smoker. I've been a cigar smoker for my whole life, 50 something years, and it's become iconic with me. They if they see me without a cigar, either out flying when I was flying model airplanes and drones, or anywhere any activity I was in, they would think I was something wrong with me. Where's your cigar? That's just, you know, I it's just the image that I had. So I started the drone channel back in 2018. Old guy and a drone, because just like in the carnivore community, of all the people that were I was the oldest. I'm always the oldest. Everywhere I go, when I get somebody who sends me a comment and says, "Hi, Mitch, I'm 84," I go, "Thank you." Oh wow, there's
one, one
somebody
person
older than me.
older.
Yeah, and in case your viewers don't know, I'll be 77 in May.
Okay, very cool.
I've lived 1 year longer than the life expectancy for American men, which is now down to 76 years old, because we're just getting sicker and sicker and dying sooner.
So you're on bonus time at this point.
I'm earning it though. See, that's just it. If you take care of yourself, you can live. You can really live a long time. But there's the rub. Who's to say what's the right way to take care of yourself? We have our opinion. They have their opinion. They have their reasons. We have ours. We're just a lot smarter. That's all, and realistic. Of course, they think so. They think so too. But anyway, so I started this drone channel, and I wanted to have a logo, an icon, or something to use, because everywhere you go, you got to have an icon. Well, I don't care if you're on Facebook or you're on Google or whatever, YouTube, you got to have an icon. So I Googled "old man with cigar," and this thing just pops up, and it wasn't copyrighted or anything. It was on a public domain site.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Wow, I like that." It almost looks like me, but
Well,
close enough.
the hair's
It's
a
got the
little bit.
spirit.
Do you scowl like that when you smoke?
No. But I just like that thing. So I stuck it on there, and it became a thing. So when I converted the channel 5 months ago from a drone channel to a carnivore channel, he went with me. There was no reason. I kept the old guy. I just got rid of the drone, added the carnivore, and the old guy came with me. Him and the monkey, they both came with me.
Do you want to show everybody your monkey that
My
you're?
monkey? Sure, I can do that. I can do that. Ready?
I'm
Zoom
ready.
zoom back out a little bit. There
All
you
right.
go. That's my pet monkey. That's Spanky. Spanky was my sidekick on he was my sidekick
on
on
on your
the.
own channel.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I could take and bring Spanky right in here. See him? He's sitting there behind me now. I can take him and whoops, that's me. I'm sorry. I can take Spanky and put him up on my shoulder if I want. See, it's the marvels of modern technology.
Right. Very cool.
But they loved it. The guys loved it, and it's a gimmick. Everybody's got to have a shtick of some kind, and that was mine. I don't do it too much in the carnivore thing. I take it more seriously, but I
Hmm.
think sometimes if you clown around a little bit, people appreciate it, especially in the
Sure.
carnivore community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people like to lighten up sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we want to share value in education, but we also want to have fun and enjoy, spending time with people in the community and stuff like that with each other. So, for anyone who happens to not be familiar with you, Mitch, take, just- well, take as long as you want. Give us a little bio on Mitch. Tell us about yourself. You already mentioned you live in Florida, but and how old you are, but share anything else you'd like to introduce
Are you sure?
yourself.
Last, then you can just take the rest of the day off. We won't need
Yeah,
you any. We won't need you anymore
I
because
can log it out.
the last time I did this, it took 45 minutes. But I'll try.
I'm not scared.
Okay. Don't be afraid. I'll try to keep it somewhat more brief. I usually one time somebody asked me that question and I said I started out as a poor white child, and took it from there, and that of course was a takeoff on Bill Cosby. When he was a young comedian, he used to start. I was born a poor black child, he would say. But I'm from Philadelphia and been in Florida for 50 years. You're probably not interested in my wild ups and downs in the business world, my being rich and being poor and being rich and poor, and
Well,
but
give me an idea what you did as a career.
well, I did everything, and that's where it turns into a 45-minute speech. So I
Mm.
won't do that to you. But I have a commercial. I'm a flight instructor. I have a commercial pilot's license. I have a general contractor's license, Class A. I can build houses and hotels. I owned a technology and computer company. I owned a restaurant. I've been in
Wow.
so many different things, and I would get them to where were becoming very successful, and the whole world would change right out under my feet. We either had I was a home builder in the Orlando area, and in the late '80s we had that savings and loan crisis and the crash of the economy, and all the home builders went broke, and then I had to start over. I started my technology. It's a long, sad story, but these people aren't really interested in that, other than the fact that everything I've done, my whole way along the way, is I've learned something, and
Hmm.
some of the stuff that I've learned applies so beautifully to the carnivore sphere because of my interest, my lifelong interest in how things work, especially the human body. So I actually started studying on my own evolutionary biology, biochemistry, cellular biology, nutrition, all of that stuff way, way back. And I jumped on the low carb bandwagon back in 1972. I had just gotten out of the
Wow.
Army. Robert Atkins wrote his first book, The Atkins Diet Revolution, the single most vilified piece of writing that ever was done.
True.
And I read it, and it just made common sense to me. Everything he said jived with everything that I had already learned about how the body works. And I said, yeah, this guy's got something. So I went on, and I've always been fighting weight. I've always been overweight. You wouldn't know it. I weigh 138 pounds now, and I'm 5'10".
Wow.
People tell me I'm too skinny. I haven't weighed 138 pounds since second grade, for God's sakes. I always look like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I was never obese, but I was always 190, 200, 180.
Yeah.
When I did diet and I did get down, I got down to 155, maybe a 34-inch waist, but still a little tight.
Hmm.
And but I've never in my life been this thin, nor have I had it happen as easy as it happened on carnivore, with absolutely no thought and no work and no punishing diets and deprivation and cravings and all that stuff. So that's what excited me about this enough to start this YouTube channel. I mean, I'm like Ponce de Leon, man. I found the fountain of youth. I want to tell everybody about it. So I started this. I started this carnivore channel, but all my life I've been interested in the why and the how things work. And that's the approach I take when I try to tell people or give people advice about the carnivore diet. Not
Hmm.
just you're going to get cravings, but let me tell you why you get these cravings. And let me tell you how these cravings are affecting your brain. Let me tell you the chemistry of it. Let me tell you the genetic programming of it. Let me tell you the history of those type of mechanisms in your 100,000, 200,000 years ago ancestor, and what useful survival purpose those things played back then. And that's why they were carried forward as instincts into to us today, and
Hmm.
how they've been hijacked by the big food, big pharma. I want people to try it. Now, a lot of people get, the deer in the headlights look when I start doing that, but I want people to. I always figured if you understand why something's happening, and it makes sense and it sounds legitimate, you're more apt to stick to it and believe it, and not just say,
Hmm.
"Wow, that guy's got a harebrained scheme and that didn't work." So on to the grapefruit and potato diet. Maybe that maybe
Yeah,
that'll work. At any rate, that's where I come from. So I started my YouTube channel, and it just took off. It just took
absolutely.
off, and I think
Yeah.
that and the reason I thought I would do well. I've been wrong so many times in my life I lost count, but every once in a while I actually get something right. And I said to myself, the oldest guys on in this space are in their mid 50s.
Hmm.
You got Sean Baker, who's 56.
Yep.
He wants us to think he's older because he says, I'm almost 60. I've heard him say that a number of times. I'm almost, John, you're not almost 60. You're 56, for God's sakes. I mean, if he says that, I can say, hey, how old are you, Mitch? Well, I'm almost 80.
Just keep rounding
I'm
up.
closer to I'm closer to 80 than he is to 57, I think. Or but I'm 76 now, and I'll be 77 in May. And there was nobody came even close. Some of these
Yeah.
old doctors, professors, research guys, Tim Noakes, some of those guys are in their 70s, but they're
Hmm.
not doing what we do. They're
Right.
not getting on there. They're giving their lectures at Low Carb Down Under, or these other conferences and forums, but they're not doing what Anthony Chafee does and Ken Berry does. So I said, you know what? I got 20 years on these guys.
Well, and that allows you to share your story with people that it's going to resonate differently with people that are more in your demographic, right?
Absolutely, and that's what I predicted would happen, and that's one that, and I was absolutely right.
Hmm.
I got deluged, and my most common comment was, "We're so happy we found you, Mitch. We're so tired of trying to take our advice from hot-looking 19-year-old girls in bikinis telling
Right.
us how we're supposed to handle it." They
Right.
identified. Now, I still get younger viewers, but the
Hmm.
brunt of my people, according to the YouTube demographics, is over 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, and I found, my story was similar to yours when I first started doing the carnivore diet. Almost everyone I had watched was similar to me, mid 40s white guy. And anytime I found a woman talking about the carnivore diet, she was doing a recipe. That was all. I think the only woman that I found before I started that had her own carnivore channel was Kelly Hogan. That she wasn't a medical professional and she wasn't cooking stuff every video. And anytime I, found a minority, a person of a minority in any way or shape, they didn't hardly have any content out there. And I thought, along the way, as I'm doing my carnivore journey, I want to interview people that are different than me to help them tell the story in ways that I wouldn't think of telling it because they're, coming from a different background, they're a different age. And one of the first people that I found that was older was semi retired Bob.
Ah,
And his story is different than mine, so I really enjoyed getting to connect with him. And I think of myself in the YouTube world on the older end of the spectrum, but I'm about 30 years younger than you, so I
yeah,
enjoy kind of making connections, making friends with people that have a different background. And for anyone who's not familiar with me, thanks for joining us tonight as I get to meet and interview Mitch. My name is Jeff. I'm the Everyday Carnivore, and I call myself that just because I'm an everyday guy. I'm not everyday carnivore in being 100% pure every single day, but I'm trying and I work on it, and it's had a profound effect on my life. And that's why I want to find ways to share the story with everyone else. I'm going to take a moment, Mitch, and let's go back to the comments. And I want to share a few of them here.
sure.
Jim says, won't find many carnivores in nursing homes. I like that.
That's true. That's true.
They they tend to live long and then flame out fast, right? First question that I've noticed, Carnivore Christina, what do you guys eat mostly? Is it strictly ruminant animals or do you eat other meats too? You first.
Okay. I eat primarily a very narrow range of foods. I eat, with few exceptions, every day. I eat two meals. I eat in a 5 hour, 4, 5, 6 hour at the most eating window. So I'll have my first meal between 11 and noon, my second one between 3 and 4. I always eat bacon and eggs. I buy this thick cut Wright's bacon at Sam's Club. I call it meat candy. It's so I look forward to it every day. I eat a half a pound of that every day and 5 or 6 pasture raised eggs. It's a lot of food, but that's my first meal. And you get enough fat in that meal because the eggs are 50% fat. The bacon's got just a hell of a lot of fat. It's good fat. There's a lot of potassium in bacon. People don't realize bacon is actually health food. And
Yeah.
even the nitrates in bacon are actually good for you, even though they're demonized. There's nothing in bacon that's going to hurt you as long as it's not loaded with sugar. Now, most bacon is sugar cured, but if you look at the carb count, and if you take a 1/4 inch thick slab of this, slice of this Wright's bacon, and it says 0 carbs,
Yeah.
you're fine. It doesn't say, and I can tell you, I've been eating that stuff. I've been eating like that for a long time, and I don't gain an ounce. So I know,
Right.
or get a craving. That's the worst thing. I'm a terrible addict, and I I eat like I do more to not trigger cravings, and any sugar or carbs will trigger a craving with me, which is why I went from keto to carnivore. Keto, too many ways to spend those 20 grams a day that would just knock you off the wagon. So the
Hmm.
carnivore has solved all that, and
Absolutely. And
the magic didn't happen until I made that decision 17 months ago. That's it.
okay.
No, 0 carb, 0 carb, nothing. Period. End of story. And in 17 months, I haven't eaten a gram of carbohydrates knowingly.
Wow.
Yeah. Now there are little carbs in eggs and meat, and
Yeah.
because muscle meat has glycogen, little glycogen, but not enough to be actually considered sugar in that sense. So I've been pretty faithful to it. So I eat the bacon and eggs every day, and then 5 or 6 days a week I eat my second meal is going to be beef, and I kind of alternate between a ground beef. I eat 80/20 or 70/30 ground chuck, maybe a pound and a quarter of that, and that's it. Today I had the bacon and eggs, and I had the big hamburger patty. It was as big as the bottom of the pan and 3/4 inch thick,
Oh, wow.
and I don't want to go after that. I don't want to go near. I just am so satisfied that I won't even begin to think about food until tomorrow. And even when tomorrow comes along, I'll say, yeah, I'm not really hungry, but I probably should eat, you know.
Mm,
I do eat. I have some recipes on my channel. I discovered that you can take pork rind crumbs, the pork rind panko, and
yep.
egg and coat things in it, and like chicken wings or shrimp or salmon patties, and then make
Kind,
them in an air fryer. And they're delicious. They're
yeah,
fabulous. So
kind of
maybe
simulate the fried effect.
right the breading,
Yeah,
and or you could even fry it. I save all my bacon grease. So when I
right.
made the salmon patties, I put about a quarter inch of this bacon grease in a frying pan, and it was like frying chicken. But you got healthy fat.
Hmm.
You got quote bread crumbs with no bread. They're just pork rinds, which and a pork rind. A lot of people don't know what a pork rind is. A pork rind is the rendered skin of the pig, and when they render it, the fat all comes out of it, and what you have left is that protein matrix that supports the fat cells, which is why it seems like it's full of air and crunchy. So a pork rind is protein.
Mm,
It's protein and whatever is left of the pork fat that rendered out.
okay.
And that's what it's cooked in. So there's absolutely nothing in that that's pretty much any different than if you were eating barbecue ribs or something. You know, it's just pork,
Hmm.
and you can use it. You can fry it in bacon grease. You can be sitting there eating fried chicken wings and stuff that I think tastes better than the stuff that you get that they fry in seed oils and canola oil, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I
Yeah.
eat that about once a week. I'll either eat a meal or two of that kind of stuff, or I'll make myself some salmon, or maybe one day instead of bacon, I'll take and put a tin of sardines in my eggs. But that's it.
Hmm.
My refrigerator is virtually empty. It really is. There's nothing in there except what I take out of the freezer to eat tomorrow. I put in the
Yeah.
refrigerator to defrost.
It's
There's
so
butter.
simple. It's
It
so
is
simple.
so simple. You don't have to think about it. I go to Sam's Club. I could be in and out of there in 5 minutes. Let's see. I need bacon. I need bacon.
Yeah.
I need eggs. I'm out of chicken wings. I should buy some. I like pork ribs. I make pork ribs too.
Hmm.
Baby back ribs. I just ate the last of the ribs, uh, and that's it. And you hardly
Yeah.
ever have to even think about food.
I like shopping when I'm only shopping for myself. My family doesn't follow the carnivore diet, so if I'm shopping for the whole family, I have to do most of the aisles. But when it's just me, I can just do that outer lap, catch the meat department, maybe the dairy to get some butter and some eggs and stuff like that. Um, to answer your question, Christina, most of the time I eat all meats. I'm fine with dairy. I don't have any reactions to dairy or anything like that. I do any spices that are no sugar and butter, of course. But this month, I decided to do the lion diet for the first time. And
Oh,
so I am
cool.
on day 3. And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask Mitch if he had ever tried. But I will tell you, I had been doing carnivore for about a year and a half, and I thought this is going to be a breeze. Like it's a challenge to say do it for a whole month, but I should have no problem at all. And I will tell you, it is harder than I expected.
Really?
Yeah. Yesterday, I started getting some headaches, and I when anytime I do a food challenge, I will try to err on the side of overeating because I don't want it to be real hunger that gets me to break my challenge, whatever it is. And I know I've eaten plenty, and I don't always eat 3 meals a day, but I was getting up in the morning and eating some beef right, when I woke up and had some lunch. Today I went and got a steak at lunchtime, which I don't normally do, and it's been challenging. I will say, if it doesn't get easier, I'm not sure I'm going to make it a whole month, but
What do you
I'm
miss? What do you miss? What was it that you were eating that you're not eating now?
Well, it's not that I'm missing it per se, but for some reason I've been getting these headaches. I've added some electrolytes yesterday and today just to make sure that that's not what's getting me. But I've been very tired and headaches, which
Huh.
to me, like I did a week long fast before the holidays, and it wasn't as hard as this. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping it'll smooth out. I'm only on day 3, and I'm hoping, the family has had the flu, and I'm hoping my body is just trying to fight to overcome something. But yeah, if it doesn't get easier, I'm not sure I'm going to make it all the way to
Well, and
30
ask
days.
yourself. I didn't, you came on here to ask me questions. I didn't come on here to lay you, on the couch and be your counselor.
No, but I'd love to hear
But
it.
let me ask you this: Are you you've been on this for a year and a half?
Mhm.
Have you reached your goal weight? What would you think you're going to settle out at?
So I did about a year ago, and then I've kind of gotten more lax. I started adding a few things in, adding a few vegetables here and there, and throughout the year, I've let that goal weight go bye bye, and I've really let it inflate. And that's it's part of the reason for doing this is to really try and reset and
Okay.
refocus.
I just wanted to. One comment here that caught my eye. I want to bring it to Spinning Wheel Road Travel says Gundry says longest lived people are heavy smokers. And if people don't know the difference between cigar smoking and cigarette smoking is night and day. You
Mm,
don't inhale cigars. Now,
okay.
imagine you listen to me. You hear me talk, don't you? You hear
Hmm.
my voice?
Right.
Imagine if I
Oh,
had been
right.
a heavy smoker for 50 years.
Hmm.
What would I say? I'd be talking like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's because we don't take any of that smoke in. Maybe a little secondhand smoke, but you draw it in and you blow it out and you relax. And it's so relaxing and it's stress relieving. And I actually had a couple of doctors tell me that the benefits of that relaxation and that stress relief so far offsets any very small risks of what secondhand smoke you might get in.
Really.
You get none of that stuff. I'm not addicted to nicotine.
Mm.
There are times when I had my head injury, I didn't smoke cigars for a month. I didn't even miss them.
Yeah.
It's something I do to relax. So I think that some of the oldest guys that I know, these guys that are 98 years old, these guys that are 100, they're all cigar smokers. That's how I met them. I met them at the cigar shop, sitting around the lounge smoking cigars and telling their life story. So I don't worry about that. I get chastised about, oh God, I get
Mm.
chastised. You should see the comments I get. I had one guy that unsubscribed from me
Because of this.
because, oh yeah, he says, if you're a cigar smoker, I can't be involved with you. I'm unsubscribing. My answer to him was, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Like that made him a bad person or
Or it
something.
made me a bad influence on him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. People are so funny. You get them. You get those comments. I could do a 2 hour stand up routine at a comedy club just on the comments, just on the comments that I get.
I gotta say, I've really enjoyed the comments on my channel. I still read every single comment, respond to nearly every one,
I do too.
and
Takes all day.
I really, yeah, I really enjoy the different stories that people have shared and everything.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It sure
Gives you
does.
it does give you a sense of purpose. But
Hmm.
like my video yesterday is up to almost 20,000 views now. I've got like 800 comments on that thing. You know what that's like to go through all those things and how many different ways can you say thank you?
Right.
Thanks a lot, you bet. Pretty soon you got to start repeating it. But
Hmm.
I always feel like these people are watching me. They're spending their time,
Right.
and not that I'm indebted to them, but just common courtesy when somebody says something to you, ask a question if you can, if and still
Right.
sleep a little bit. Do your best to answer them, and I'm getting to the point right now where I'm almost at the limit of stuff that I can
Mhm.
personally answer, and I hate to let that go. But you imagine a guy like Ken Berry
Yeah.
or Sean Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, I've left lots of comments on Sean Baker's videos, and he's never responded to any of mine,
Hmm.
and I don't expect him to. He
Right.
has a whole staff of people, and they didn't even have time to respond to my comments. So
Yeah.
I just hope people understand what can happen to you if you do get doing this YouTube thing. It's a lot of friggin' work. It's a lot of work. It takes a
It is
lot
a
of
lot of
time.
work, but it's a work of passion and
It
love
is.
and getting to share things. And
It
um,
is. It is. That's for sure.
United Carnivore, we appreciate you speaking up. Smash the like button, everyone. We would love to reach more folks. I've seen the ticker ticked up above 140. We have
Did it
about
really?
Yeah, we have
Cool.
about 120 right now. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys logging in to meet these two old guys
Two
just kicking
two
it around here.
two bald-headed old farts. Well, you're a kid, man. I got shoes that are older than you, for God's sakes. I
Christina.
got a son and a daughter that are both older than you. I can't say grandkids yet, but my grandson's turned 21, for God's sake. God, that makes me
Okay.
feel old.
Okay.
My son is 53. That makes me feel old.
Yeah. Christina, we love to share the stories. I'm glad that you enjoy hearing them. Um, Coco, thanks. Really appreciate it. I'll enjoy getting to know you better.
Coco comes to all my live streams too.
And United Carnivore as well. Well, just to share with you guys, at the beginning of 2023, I had never done a live stream. I had only done interviews in a pre-recorded way, and I had this goal to do one live stream each quarter during the year, just so I could kind of get used to it a little bit. But I enjoyed it so much that I ended up doing, I think, one a month on average throughout the year. I think I ended with 12. So I'm getting more familiar with it. Some of them, when I watch them back, I'm pretty critical of myself, but you can't edit. It just goes out the way it is. So, if I wasn't speaking
Yeah.
fast enough or I got lost in the comments, tough. It's out there. It's in the world.
Well, I love the live streams. I did for years. I have hundreds of them on my drone channel, and all my drone videos are still live. They're still on my channel. If somebody starts
Mhm.
going back in my videos, back far enough, they'll start to see my drone live streams and me out there flying drones. And I love that stuff. And I went back the other day and I watched my first live stream that I ever did.
Yeah.
And if there was ever an example of the word cringe-worthy, it was that live
It
stream.
was
And I
rough.
had
Huh?
one guy that I put a link up to try to get some visitors, and I think I had 3 or 4 people watching it. And this one guy clicks the link, and he comes in and talks to me,
Hmm.
and he's got some music playing in the background at his house. And damn if I don't get a copyright strike from YouTube
Oh,
on my first live stream for that music that he was playing back in the background. So that was and I was nervous, and I had built up a setup like I have now.
hmm.
You guys have all seen this little deal that I got going on here, and it's pretty complicated. It's got
Yeah.
a lot of this broadcast software in it. And I had all these buttons, and I didn't know which ones to push or what to do next. And I
You
go
had
back.
all the tools and hadn't
Oh
learned how to
man,
use them all.
I go back and watch it every once in a while. It makes me humble. But I got to the point where it stopped being a show for me. It just stopped being a show. It's like having
Hmm.
friends over.
Mm.
And I don't, the camera just disappears, the microphone disappears. I look at the screen, I see myself, but I see the chat, and I see all those names and all those people out there. And somehow in my mind, I see them out there. And I don't socialize a lot, but for me, this is the greatest thing in the world because I'm socializing with 100 plus people for
Sure.
an hour or two. And it's therapeutic for me. Most of these people who watch me on a regular basis know that I've embarrassed myself plenty in some of the things that I've said and done. I have no secrets. I'm very self-deprecating, so you can't insult me. Uh, I don't care what people think that don't really know me anyway. And so I just let go. I just let go,
Hmm.
and it's fun, and it gets to be fun. And sometimes I think it's maybe gets a little silly to watch, but I have a good time, and the people seem to have a good time. So I'm just going to keep on doing it. And one
Yeah,
of these nights we'll have you on my live stream.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Be
we'll
happy
have
to
to do
do
that.
it.
I have not had an interview yet
Oh, okay.
on one of my live streams. I have.
Well, to be honest, I'm not doing very good as an interviewer. We're talking a lot and we're sharing a lot, but I'm not asking the hard hitting questions tonight. But it's been fun.
Well, go
Um,
ahead. I'm here.
let's
Ask me anything.
well
Go ahead.
let's talk about what William's asking. What part of Philadelphia are you from?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's going to be meaningful to all the carnivores out there. I'm from Northeast Philly, Northeast,
Okay.
Oxford Circle area. If you're familiar with Philly, I lived on Unruh Avenue, where
Okay.
it crossed Algon Avenue, and I went to Northeast High School, and that's where I grew up.
Very good.
140 days carnivore, absolutely no snacks in that time. Don't need them. 16/8 fasting regime. Cheers all. You too. You too,
Sounds
Ann. Oh, I
good.
know Ann. How you doing, Ann? Good to
Yeah,
see you.
that sounds like a good plan.
You know, I was going to start. I
Are
was going to
you?
give you. I was going to give you a little advice.
Okay.
Okay. And the only advice that I give anybody is what I found works for me, and that doesn't guarantee that it's going to work for you. But I found that it really does work for me. I think I've done this, judging by the results I've had, and the ease and the enjoyment I get out of this, and the lack of any feelings of deprivation of any kind. I the opposite. I rejoice in the ability to be able to just eat the few things that I eat because I enjoy them so
Hmm.
much and never get tired of them. And if you had told me that was even possible 2 years ago, I would have told you you're out of your mind. You know who you're talking to here? You're crazy, man. If I can't have my bagels in the morning, you can forget it. Then life's not worth living. Well, this changes you psychologically too. And what I found was that not changing up was the most beneficial thing I did. For example, I don't take challenges. Okay, I don't fast. I fast every day for 20 hours. Now,
Right.
a couple of times I've gone a whole day without eating, but that was because of circumstances. Where I was, there was nothing I wanted to eat. It was no big deal for me to just say, I'll eat
Just
tomorrow.
eat tomorrow.
Yeah. And even the next day, I said, I really could even go till tomorrow, but I have no desire to do long term fasts because I don't have any more weight to lose. I don't want to lose any more weight. I want to stay
Right.
right where I am. So the rules that you play by depend on where you are in your journey. And if you get to the point where you're getting close, I think the best thing is to kind of routine out. Get yourself into a routine. Don't change things. Let yourself settle in and
Hmm.
get used to that same, because this is the way our ancestors lived. They didn't get up in the morning and say, grab their bow and arrows and say, what's on the menu? Chances
Right.
are it was the same big animal that they were chasing yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before.
Right.
And, they didn't say, well, what's for dessert? They had, one thing on the menu for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks out of the year when berries were in season or something. Other than that, there was no dessert.
Hmm.
They didn't know any better, so they didn't get bored. You're not going to get bored if you don't know any better. You're not going to want something if you don't know it exists or you never had it. It's out of your realm of reality. And I found that was the most helpful thing to me was just, and it happened by accident.
Yeah.
Because I live by myself, I don't have a family around here and have to watch them doing their thing. And that's the hardest thing. I don't have to have it in the house if I'm not going to eat it. I live alone and I just, every day around the same time, I say I could eat. I'm never starving. I make myself my bacon and eggs, and my viewers will know that that's my favorite time to make a video.
Hmm.
You've seen my videos in the kitchen. I just set up
Yeah.
my camera, and I've got a camera now on these new DJI Pocket 3s with the gimbal on top, and you can set it to follow you. So I set it up on the counter and I put a lav mic on I point it at me and tell it to follow me. And I walk around the kitchen and it follows me around. And I make my bacon, make my eggs. And at the same time, I'm giving a speech, which I've never rehearsed. I went
Right.
into this whole thing with some idea in my head of a point I wanted to make. And some of them come out better than others, but I do a one cut thing, start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that the visual part of me cooking the breakfast gives somebody something to pay attention to, a
Mm-hmm.
storyline per se, and they listen to me, and those videos do okay. But I've been doing that pretty much the same time every day. Got into the routine of that
Yeah.
and the bacon and eggs, and that became my meal. And then I said, well, I don't want to eat after 3 or 4 o'clock at the latest because I'm trying to keep my eating window close.
Right.
And I had moved it earlier in the day. I found that worked better for me to have a good solid 6, 7 hours before I went to bed after my last food.
Hmm.
So when I see it becoming around 3 o'clock, 3:30, I cook up some dinner, and it's usually a steak or a hamburger. And I got into that routine, and since I started doing that routine, I have it. Consciously, I don't even think about food anymore. It makes it real. It makes it real easy, and I certainly don't want to change things. My
Mm-hmm.
body's gotten used to this. It likes this. Why would I want to throw a curveball at it at this point? It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
get any better for me. And you
Yeah.
might want to give that a try.
Yeah.
Forget the challenges, forget the fasting. Uh, just do the intermittent fasting and eat. Make sure you eat plenty of food. Lion diet, bacon and eggs
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really matter. I mean, unless you have some, I think, severe physical things that you're trying to heal, where
Well,
like Michaela Peterson, for example, had to
sure.
go on to the lion diet. But if you're
Yeah.
just trying to lose a few pounds and be healthy,
Well, I'm not ready to give up on the challenge yet. I
okay,
definitely want to try, but I do hear what you're saying, and I wonder if when I hit that goal weight that I was shooting for, if I would have done what you're saying and just kind of settled into a routine. I think mentally I did what a lot of us do is look forward to the day that I hit my goal, I can start to experiment, which is looking back on it is such a horrible plan,
it
right?
is.
To
It's a,
say,
it's a it's a
well,
play. It's terrible. It's a
I
terrible
changed all
terrible
these
idea.
things to get there, but I want to see what I could get away with adding back in. And really at the end of
Why?
the day, yeah,
Why would you, why I don't get that. There is well, we're still so conditioned with what we've been taught and what
yeah,
we've heard all our lives. And
yeah.
I mentioned yesterday on my live stream, I said, people your age, you've heard this since birth.
Yeah,
I made the comment that people that are 40 or 50 were weaned on
right.
toaster pastries.
Yeah.
This is the only thing they've known all their life.
My whole childhood was cereal in milk every single morning.
Of
It was just
course. So was
which kind
mine.
of cereal was I going to eat, and that's just you might as well hand me a whole bowl full of sugar. Um, so yeah, I like what you're saying there, United Carnivore. We are what we repeatedly do.
And it doesn't
Nope.
get boring. It honestly, it doesn't get boring because food loses its importance on this thing.
Hmm.
Food is becomes like gasoline for your car. It's not entertainment anymore. It's
Right.
not an activity anymore. It's basically just fuel yourself up.
It's not
It tastes
reward,
good. I enjoy it, and
comfort. Yeah.
but other than that, it's not a major thing. And we're food. We're a food centric society now. Food is the most important thing,
Yeah.
and virtually everything everybody does. It's crazy if you actually start to look at it from that standpoint. You can't
Right.
go to a football game without the food. You got to have the
And
food. You can't go to a party without the food and the drink. You can't go out in the evening without the food and the drink. It's all the food and the drink has become our entertainment, and without that, it's horrifying to most people. I
mm,
can't give that up. Forget the addiction. That's just the habit part of it. Then you throw the addiction on top of that. No wonder people can't do it.
yeah.
And this changes the physiology, changes your whole chemistry. Your your whole brain gets rewired. And I'm not the only one to say this. Anybody who's ever done it for
No,
any length of time will tell you that.
that's true for sure, for sure. So many people I've talked to, um, well, and they'll say, I never could have spoken to a camera on YouTube before because I had too much anxiety. I was too self conscious. I didn't have confidence. I couldn't think of things quickly enough. Whatever it is, it just changes you in very intangible, hard to express ways, I think.
Well, we do get. I've never. I mean, I can feel it. I know it. I've never been sharper mentally in my entire life than I
Hmm.
am now. At the point in time where I should be drooling in some nursing home. You know.
So, so Bill and Marilyn Cox asked. They mentioned they started ketovore in their 70s,
Good
and
for you.
they
Good
feel
for
better,
you.
which is fantastic. And they asked, "Do you guys take electrolytes?" And do you want to go first, or
Oh,
should
sure. Yeah. I supplement with only electrolytes. I just had some blood tests. I didn't get my vitamin D results back yet.
I? Mhm.
But other than electrolytes, vitamin D might be the only one that I might need. I have never done it, but I was at the low end of the range last year, so we'll see this year. But electrolytes are almost a no-brainer when you're doing any diet these days, especially a meat-heavy diet. And the reason is that 10,000, 20,000 years ago, the soils contained these minerals, potassium, magnesium, calcium, sodium, and the cows and the animals ate them. So then the cows contained the magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And then the humans ate the cows and got the electrolytes. Well, with modern agriculture and farming, most of the farmland and most of the pasture land where these animals, even if they are grass fed, and especially if they're grain fed, they don't get any of these nutrients. These electrolytes are just not getting into the animals that we
Mhm.
eat. So it's almost a given that even though you're eating a diet that 20,000 years ago would have given you virtually every single vitamin, mineral, nutrient that you need, today you're going to get 99% of those things that you need, and you're going to be short some of these electrolytes. So it can't hurt to supplement, and I do. And I mix my own now. I have a video on my channel about how to mix up these electrolytes, and they're very inexpensive and they work great. So it's just sodium, potassium, and magnesium.
Yep. Yep. I found for at least the first full year that I didn't need electrolytes, and so I would just salt pretty heavy, salt my food, and I have got some electrolytes. I use them from time to time if I start to feel like lethargic or feel like I'm struggling, maybe getting headaches when I know I really shouldn't. That's one thing that's really beneficial when you get your carnivore dialed in. You can tell I'm getting a headache. Why is it? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because I'm dehydrated? Is it because I haven't eaten in so long because I just forgot to be hungry? Um, you really get a sense of listening to your body and knowing. And so from time to time, I use some electrolytes. I have the past couple days while trying this lion diet for the first time, but it's not something that I feel like I had to do all the time on carnivore. And I think really for people that stay indoors and they don't do a lot of high intensity exercise or work out in the sun for hours at a time, you got to listen to your body. And for me, I just didn't need it for a long time. But certainly go for it if you feel like it can benefit you. There's
Yeah,
no shame in that at all.
I do it. I do it every day, so it's become a habit, and you can't overdose on them. If you no really, if you get too
No,
much, you'll just pee them out.
yeah.
So I just do those things. Now I just got my lab work back, and I made that video yesterday with that. I was asking for trouble making that video talking about my ridiculous cholesterol.
Now, I hadn't had a chance to watch that one. Let's take a minute and kind of talk about it real quick because I was trying to watch your 2 hour live.
Oh God.
I only have so many hours in the day, Mitch. Give me the gist of it.
Well, basically, first of all, when you look at lab work, you have to, they always give you the normal range, but you always have to keep in mind that normal range is not normal; it's average.
It's
and
average
and,
of
and
a
it's and of a bell
sick
curve.
population.
Right. So what you're looking at is the average range of people of 88% of the people that are metabolically unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty close. You can pretty well guess that they're not too far off. But I had two things that were high. My BUN, which is blood urea nitrogen,
Okay.
was almost twice the top of what's considered the normal range, and that is one indicator of kidney problems. Okay. Now I had the same thing last year, so I took the time to research it and figure out why. So it didn't alarm me. I expected it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it's high is because you're eating a high protein diet.
Okay.
And if you cross check it against the other markers of kidney disease, creatinine levels, glomerular filtration rate, all these other things, and your urinalysis, which shows you whether you're dumping any sugar, ketones. That was another controversial thing. How come there's no ketones in your urine? Oh, God, I spent a day answering that question for 30 different people. Anyway, it turns out, and there's been studies and papers, and I have them, and I have copies of them that pretty well say that's just absolutely normal for somebody on. In fact, mine was 39, my number, and it routinely goes up to 50
Okay.
milligrams per deciliter. So I think that that was one of the numbers. But my cholesterol, like most of us carnivores who are lean, have high. My HDL was 77.
Okay.
My triglycerides were 109, which is higher than a lot of, but they were 139 last year. So
Well,
they're coming down. But my ratio is 1.4, which is terrific.
okay.
And, I'm almost one of these lean mass hyper. That's a loose definition anyway, this lean mass hyperresponder. I mean, Dave Feldman made that up and set the limits arbitrarily. But he's on to something, and that is that on a low carb, high fat, high protein diet, when you're lean and otherwise metabolically healthy and a fat burner, your cholesterol, your LDL has gone through the roof. And there's study after study after study. Chafee just put out a video either today or yesterday, where he chastises all these people for what they've done, demonizing cholesterol. The people with the highest cholesterol, the people with the cholesterol numbers that I have, are the ones that are living the longest.
Mm-hmm.
So my LDL was 340 something, 339.
Your
LDL,
LDL
low density, the bad cholesterol.
was that high?
300. Well, that wasn't even high, but these people out there have 400, 500, 600. These are athletes. These are people that are in the best health of their life. And according to these meta-analysis of all legitimate studies, and that's a key word, legitimate, of all these studies that they've done, when they do a meta-analysis, they take 19 or 20 of these most closely related studies and lump all the data into one big group. So they're looking at the data from 1 million people,
Yeah.
1.5 million people. And they plotted high LDL against, high cholesterol against age.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher the cholesterol, the longer
The longer
the
they
people
live.
lived.
Yeah.
The lower the cholesterol, the more heart disease and the more death there was. And
Yeah.
so by artificially lowering something, and this is what frustrates me because I'm a man
It's
of logic and common sense.
yeah. The
Above
problem
all.
comes when they look at the results and they say, "Well, that can't be right, so we're going to disregard that whole study."
And then it's not a legitimate study.
Right.
See, yeah,
Right.
and that's a biased study, and
Yeah.
most studies in nutrition certainly aren't randomized control trials. They're
Hmm.
epidemiology, they're survey driven,
Hmm.
and they're agendized by the people that are administering this study, are working for the food companies, or paid off by the drug or something, or they have a political bent like good old Ansel Keys did when he did the 7 country study that proved that cholesterol causes heart disease, because he could take these 7 countries that they visited and draw a line on the chart, which conveniently went right through all the 7 countries, right up, that showed the higher the cholesterol. But what he forgot to do was put the other countries on, because there was really 22 countries in the study. He forgot conveniently to put all the other countries on dots, which then scattered all over the place and showed absolutely no discernible correlation at all. He cherry picked the 7 countries that would fit the graph that he wanted to have. And that's why we're all fat and sick today. And that
Yeah.
is so frustrating and maddening. And we
Yeah.
still put up with it. You would not want to be in it took me years to break my doctor in at the VA. It took me years to break her in. And
Yeah.
I already have, I'm ready. I'm going to my physical next week. I've already started my pile of papers that I'm taking with me. And she's starting to believe me now.
Hmm.
Starting to believe me
Well,
now.
I was nervous last year, the first time I went to the doctor after starting carnivore. I had been going for, I think, 4 or 5 months and had lost a bunch of weight from the year before. I had actually done intermittent fasting with just continuing to eat garbage food and lost a bunch of weight. And then I started carnivore and lost a bunch more. And I was nervous going to the doctor for the first time, but she really shocked me, gave me a high five, said not worried about any of it. And when they did the blood draw, they do it the opposite order. They do the visit and then they send you the results after you you know already left. And I asked, are you concerned about what kind of cholesterol I'm going to have or anything like that? And she said, nope, not worried about it at all. I was kind of shocked. And
Turns out, I'm
the
sorry, go
only,
ahead.
yeah, the only thing that I was low in was vitamin D.
That's very
So,
common, especially
yeah,
if you don't get out in the sun a lot. Yeah.
right. So I just made it a daily habit now. I'm out in the sun every single day. If it's raining is the only time I don't go out midday and go for a walk where I try to have my bald head soaking up as much
And let
vitamin
your
D
eyes,
as I can.
I take my glasses off because
Yep.
they have the auto tint thing, and I want to let those ultraviolet rays
Hmm.
in. I
Hmm.
I try to do that. I saw a comment here from Cranky Carnivore Cutler, one of my guys. How you doing? And he says, "Question is, isn't it time for a class action lawsuit?" Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that would be impossible. Not
Mhm.
only to fund the cost of who are you going to sue, what evidence do you really have, are you prepared, I've been involved in a lot of lawsuits in my business career, and most of them nobody wins, and it's a
Mm.
game of who can run the other guy around and spend his money faster, with motions and depositions, and if you, it's just, it's not even practical to take somebody to small claims court anymore, let alone a case like this. And then you've got all the agendas and all the money of the people involved. It's worse than politics. Everybody be paying everybody else off. All the judges would be on the payroll. It would be a impossible thing. Yeah, it should happen, and we should have a legal system that would allow it. But
It's
you just
just
can't
not
do
going
it.
to
You
work.
just Yeah, it's a shame. It's a
Yeah.
shame. It's a shame. There's a lot of people I'd like to sue out there, but it's just not practical.
Yeah.
It
I'm
really isn't. Do you
I'm going to
think?
take a few
Go ahead.
minutes. Several of you have kind of responded to what I was sharing about the lion diet the first few days. So Jake asked, "Do you think the pure lion diet may be eliminating toxins in your body?" That's possible, and that's why I'm not ready to give up just yet. I feel like I know how to listen to my body, and I'm not at the giving up point yet. But we'll see. Denise says to up your fat intake. I appreciate that. That's a good thought. I will say, a lot of times when I'm eating hamburger, I do like 80/20. I purposely went out to my local Publix the other night and got some market grinds where they're doing more of a 70-30 or a 73-27 and trying to up that as much as I can, and we'll see if it pays off. Coco said, Jeff, did you stop drinking coffee? And then followed up with, that may be causing headaches. Coco, I appreciate that. I gave up coffee last year and haven't gone back to it. So, you know, these are all good ideas and, things that we should think about when we're struggling with symptoms or effects that we're not sure. But I appreciate you guys.
Somebody hears my fan clicking. Florida does. This is what they told me last night. He said, "Turn down my fan." I said, "Put up with the clicking. It's warm in here tonight. I'm wearing this sweater." Yeah, I know. I'm going to get a new fan. I'm going to get a new fan for there, but I don't hear it, and I think maybe it's if you're watching on a cell phone with just a little tinnier speaker, you might hear it. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm clicking through this live stream.
Rocket, are you asking me why I keep changing stuff up? If that's the answer, or if that's what you're asking, I do mix it up, and maybe a good idea is to listen to Mitch and find a rhythm that works for me and just stick with it. But it is tough to change habits of trying to, keep things interesting and have a variety too. So we'll see. We'll see what I can do. Maybe as a carnivore, you're not getting a high dose of omega-6 with grains in seed oil, except
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
in grain-fed meat.
Well, you don't get it from grain-fed meat. That's I think a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, cows eat grass, but when you eat cows, you're not eating grass. When cows eat grain, none of that grain is basically in the cow. The cow's just converted it mostly to fat, and maybe there might be a little higher bit of omega-6, but not anything like seed oils or anything like that. So, yeah, the animals process the food. That's why cows are so cool. They're vegans. See, cows ruminant animals are the true vegans in this world, not the humans. The humans eat the vegans.
That's right.
And there's a
I
message.
love vegans.
And
They
there's a
taste
message. There's a message that I want all the vegans to hear and understand is that carnivores eat vegans. Now, right now, we're eating vegan cows. But if you keep doing what you're doing and we can't get vegan cows anymore, well, let your mind go there. Who are we going to be? We're still going to want to eat vegan animals. Where are we going to turn for that? And I mean, that's not a threat, but
Hey, Dr. AJ, I'm glad to see you're on here. Dr. AJ is from South America, and I don't think he's ever hit one of my live streams, but he comments on nearly every one of the videos I put out and
cool.
offers some great advice to both me and the community. I really appreciate you.
I don't see his comment here.
It's up on the screen right now.
Oh, there it is.
It says consider
okay.
the like button
Okay.
smashed. So,
Cool.
Sean at Eyes on Carnivore. I wish I could find someone to help me do a channel. Yes, it does sound daunting and hard, but I do have a lot of time on my hands. Love your work, mate. Well, any advice that you give to Sean, Mitch?
Wow.
Tell you what, while you think about it, I'm going to say some of the best YouTubers out there started with just their phone and no idea what they were doing. And they just, logged in and created a Google account on YouTube and just started experimenting and learned along the way. And, depending on what your goal is, maybe that's worth just jumping in there.
you gotta start out and do it out of love and passion for whatever subject or niche you're going after, and you have to have a couple of things. You have to have a topic and a message that you think other people want to know, want to hear, something that might be useful, something you've discovered or you've figured out or you've put together from other things that you've heard that actually works and it's working for you and you can use yourself as an example. I think you'll agree with me, Jeff, on that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. And
Then of course, there's the whole I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm not going to. Well, we all started off like that. I was telling Jeff earlier, I watched my first drone live stream and laughed my ass off. So we all do that. And the only way you ever get over that kind of stage fright or whatever you want to call it is you just do it. You do it. And pretty soon you learn that you're just comfortable with making a fool out of yourself.
I,
And then you're not nervous anymore. You don't care.
yeah, I will give you one other tip that I wish people would mention more often. When you start, YouTube has no idea who your audience is, and that's okay. And if you go on your contact list and you invite everyone you know to come and watch your video, all of a sudden you have all these people that creates this pressure and this stress of, that my best friend or my mom or my cousin are going to criticize what I'm doing, and that we're just, inviting that. And what happens when channels do that right from the beginning is you are giving YouTube all these people that probably aren't really your target audience for whatever
That's true.
topic.
I agree.
And it can totally make it harder to start with. So I would encourage you, if you're just starting a new channel, to just begin making the videos the very best that you can and let YouTube figure out who to bring, because then it's only going to be a few views at the beginning. So if you mess up or if it's cringy or whatever, who cares? Like 7 people watched it and you don't even know who they are. And over time, that will build, that will change. And I think that's the advice I would want to hear if I were starting over. So, and besides that, come on live stream with us and tell us your channel name, and we'll have to take a look, right, Mitch?
That's how you spread a new person spreads themselves around. You just get in the chats of these
Hmm.
other people. You get into the community. You get your name, whatever your channel name is going to be your screen name in the chat. People start to recognize it.
Yep.
You and I get these emails all the time from new guys who've just started out, want to interview me or want me to interview them. And I don't have. I'm not a snob about that, but I'm busy. This is the fourth one of these. Fourth one of these that I do. I do a lot more of them, but it's most people, Jeff, and you can. I mean, I've watched a lot of your videos just preparing for tonight, and
Okay.
you're pretty prolific. I mean,
Oh, thanks.
you put out a lot of stuff, and most people
Thanks.
don't realize how much work it is to shoot that stuff and edit that stuff, and then
I
just to
I
even
try hard.
upload it. Even to upload it and sit there and wait for a half an hour while YouTube thinks about whether you've violated any copyrights or not, and developing and designing thumbnails and coming up with titles that do just the right thing, that are just this side of clickbait, but
Right.
not clickbait.
Try
Because when
so
when you
hard.
when you clickbait them, they get mad at you.
Yeah.
But if you just don't stimulate any interest or curiosity, they pass right over you.
That's right.
It's a tough line to walk when you do these thumbnails. You're
Hmm.
you're 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 in a competition. You all have watched your YouTube feed and you just see thumbnail after thumbnail rolling by, rolling by. How do you stand out from something like that?
Mm.
It's taken me 5 years to learn the psychology of making a thumbnail and a
Hmm.
title to match. And actually, the most important thing is that's what the video's got to be about.
Right.
or you're really going to piss somebody off and you'll
Right.
never see them again.
Right. That's right.
It is so much psychology involved in it that
Yeah.
you learn is there after you get started and you say, holy cow, I never knew that I had to be thinking about stuff like this.
Hmm. All right. Well, change of topic here. Michael has a question for you, Mitch. They just got their blood work, and the lipid profile says HDL 85,
Wow,
triglycerides 61,
even
LDL
better. 368
368.
hyper responder. Oh, you're better than me, man. You're better than me. But this hyper responder thing, don't get too carried away with that, because we're about to find out. We're about to find out, and I can pretty well predict this. And you come back and talk to me in 2 years and tell me if I wasn't right. If you're fat adapted and you don't even have to be skinny, but you're a reasonable weight. Your BMI is less than 25 if you're a man, let's say. My BMI is 20, so I'm pretty skinny. But
Yeah,
but
that's
if
great.
your BMI is down there, your visceral fat is low, you're feeling great. You got numbers like you do, Denise. Well, maybe 20, 30 in your BMI. Women maybe add 5 points to. Women are supposed to be softer. Well, that's true.
Yep. Yep.
If you have numbers like that, I think you'll find that having a high LDL is going to be the most common thing that you see. It's a normal reaction to fat metabolism. You're transporting, instead of transporting sugar around in your blood to fuel your cells, you're not a sugar burner anymore. You're transporting fat. Well, you
Mhm.
can't transport fat directly in the blood. It's not water soluble like glucose is. You have to transport it in lipoproteins, LDL, VLDL, okay, which is the same little boat that transports all the other fat type things: cholesterol, triglycerides, fat soluble vitamins. All those things take a ride on an LDL particle surrounded by an APO, either ApoB, ApoB100, protein. You've heard those names. And if you're burning fat, you have to transport that. If you're transporting all that fat in these lipoprotein particles, of course it makes sense that when you measure your blood, you're going to have a lot more of these things. There's a lot more FedEx trucks on the road the day before Christmas than the day after Christmas, okay? Because there's not as many things to deliver. Well, your blood is the highway. The lipoproteins are the FedEx trucks. And there's a lot of merchandise going through that if you're burning fat. And I mean, I didn't invent this theory. I've heard this from any number of brilliant people, guys like, Ben Bickman and Bart Kay, and all those guys have been saying this. This
Yeah.
only makes sense. Now, there is one. I don't want to get too far down these biochemistry rabbit holes, but there is one other factor, and that's an enzyme called PCSK9. Now, that ought to ring a bell with everybody in this space. PCSK9. And whenever you hear PCSK9, you usually hear the word inhibitor after it. Does that ring a bell with you, Jeff?
It doesn't. So you're stretching my
Okay.
science
A
here.
PCSK, you know what a statin is, don't you?
Yes.
Well, a statin is one method of lowering cholesterol. An even better and more violent and effective way to lower cholesterol is what's called a PCSK9 inhibitor. PCSK9 is an enzyme that downregulates on the liver the receptors that take the lipoproteins back out of the blood.
Okay.
So the more PCSK9, the less of these receptors in the liver are going to be working. The
Okay.
PCSK9 is basically shutting the liver down. The more PCSK9, the less cholesterol is going to be pulled out of the blood, because when this PCSK9 enzyme actually closes the door from the bloodstream back into the liver to take those empty lipoprotein particles back into the liver to fill them up. So by doing that, if you have a high level of PCSK9, you're going to have a high level of lipoproteins in your
Sure.
blood.
Yeah.
Well, we are genetically programmed. All of us are a little different in the amount of the PCSK9 that we have, that we produce.
Hmm.
It's a protein. It's produced from a gene. The gene has to be transcribed, and the protein has to be built just like any other protein. And the amount of those things depend on what they call epigenetics, which is a whole nother study. And the epigenetics are really what's responsible for exposing that part of the genome, opening it up so that it can be transcribed. So that's how gene regulation works. The epigenetics expose and hide the genetic code for the proteins that are needed, and those are different in all of us. And those come from our entire evolutionary background of intermarriage, everything else, and we're all a little different. So what happens is they've noticed, and this strong protein, this strong statin, lipoprotein lowering drug, is just called a PCSK9 inhibitor.
Okay.
So if you're shutting off the production of these PCSK9 enzymes, then the receptors in the liver don't have anybody interfering with them, and they just keep pulling cholesterol out of the blood, and the blood cholesterol goes down. Okay. That is different in all of us, that genetically programmed level. So if
Hmm.
the lean mass hyperresponder phenotypes are probably those of us that have the highest level of this PCSK9 production, and therefore
Okay.
the highest cholesterol numbers. I'm probably one of them.
Okay.
And that explains why, very, very convincingly, it explains why people say, well, in some carnivores, their cholesterol goes down. In
Hmm.
some carnivores, their cholesterol stays the same. And in other carnivores, their cholesterol goes up. Now, you hear something like that, and you say to yourself right away, well, these people are out of their mind. They have no friggin' idea what's going on.
Right.
They're telling me, well, you're right. Well, but you're also wrong. You can't, there's no definitive answer there. So
Yeah.
me, the way I am with my curiosity, and I got to know how this works, I dug into it and I learned
Right.
why it is. And it all comes down to the little genetic differences in people. But I think more people than not have a high PCSK9 level and therefore a high cholesterol level. And you're seeing more and more and more of these comments like we just got here
Yeah.
that say, my LDL's, 465. Am I going to die? And the answer is no, you're going to live longer. You're going to live longer with numbers like that, with high HDL, low triglycerides, and screaming high LDL. You are one of the people that might be living to 120 years old.
Yeah, the main one I'm always concerned about, and I'm about to go do my physical again coming up, is the triglycerides. I want to make sure that those stay as low as possible. And to me, that's the only number I'm really interested in the blood work itself.
And be careful about that too, Jeff, because you can go and get your triglycerides, go back an hour later and get them taken again. They'll be wildly different.
Oh, well,
These numbers, see, that's the problem with these blood. We put too much stock in these blood tests. We
yeah.
do. They're
Well,
they're they're just a clue.
well, I know before coming back to carnivore, I had done keto for a, a good number of years and was improving my health. And then when I quit keto, with the era of keto snacks totally throwing me off, I put a lot of weight back on, and my triglycerides the year before were about 300. And so last year when I took them and they were, I think, 75,
Oh, that's
that was
great.
huge. I felt like that was
Yeah.
meaningful.
Now, interestingly, you know who Nick Norowitz is?
I
Nick
know.
Norowitz is the guy that's kind of partnered with Dave Feldman doing all these studies. And
Okay.
Nick Norowitz he's a PhD biochemist and a third year Harvard medical student. A young guy and brilliant, and he happens to be an athlete. he can do 450 push-ups in one set. He's
Oh,
skinny young guy.
how long
His
does that take?
his LDL is up around way up there, 500-600, some crazy. He's the absolute epitome of what they're defining as a lean mass hyperresponder. Okay,
Okay.
and he commissioned a research paper on the effectiveness of and whether it's smart or why the cholesterol jumps up so high in people that just give up sugar. And of course I correlate it with the switching from the sugar burning metabolism. And I use the word burning because there's no flame. We're not burning
Right.
anything. We're chemically metabolizing it. But we use fat burner, sugar burner. When you convert from a sugar burner to a fat burner, so many things in your body change the way they work. That there's going to be changes in everything, subtle changes and some major changes. And one of the things that happens to most people on a carnivore diet that are in good shape and have the right lipid mix of high cholesterol, low triglycerides, is their LDL shoots way up. So he's doing a study right now. You may have heard it. He's calling it the Oreo cookie statin study.
I
It's
haven't heard
legitimate. It's for real. Look it up on YouTube. You can find it. And the study is a commission study. It's approved by all these organizations. It's going to be published in medical journal. It is being done as a legitimate controlled trial. And the study goes this way. For 2 weeks, here's Nick Norwitz. He goes into this thing. He's got cholesterol numbers through the roof. For the first 2 weeks, he's going to eat one entire sleeve of Oreo cookies a day. He's intentionally changing his metabolism from the fat burner that he is back to the sugar burner.
Right.
He's going to reset for the next few weeks after that. And then he's going to go on a statin for 6 weeks to see what the results are on lowering his cholesterol. Well, after this was the greatest thing. I made a video about this. I thought I was so tickled by this. I mean, this guy's my hero. You know, he could be my grandson, but he's my hero. After he did the Oreo cookie thing, they went and he got his blood work done. This is the funny part. A sleeve of Oreo cookies a day lowered his LDL by 275 points.
Jeez.
Okay, 270 just by
Clearly, that means they're healthy for you then.
just exact right. So Sean Baker was joking about it, and you'll hear him in a lot of his videos talking about the Oreo cookies. And if you didn't know what he meant, this is what he's talking about. He said, "Yeah," he said, "the easy answer is you just eat Oreo cookies. Yeah, you might get heart disease from the sugar, you get fat and all that, but according to the doctors, with your nice low LDL, you're going to be healthy." There's the answer. So more of this stuff keeps coming out. And that shows that it's a reaction to being a sugar burner or a fat burner. And I saw a video of Anthony Chaffee's today, where he just went off. I mean, he went off, went off at at these questions. He was getting these questions. My LDL is 405. He says, maybe a day will come where I never get another one of these damn questions. One of these days, you're all going to get it through your head. He just started like, you're all going to get it through your heads that this was a fraud from the beginning.
Right.
Cholesterol never caused heart disease. The things that cause heart disease are diabetes, cigarette smoking. He says, it was a fraud from the beginning. Your LDL can be 400. You can be sick and fat. It still doesn't make any difference. There's no condition you can be in that your high cholesterol is going to be any more dangerous. You don't have to even be healthy, he says. Get over it. He says, I look forward to the day when I'm just not going to get these stupid cholesterol questions. And then he started making references to Ansel Keys, back who started all this nonsense.
Right.
So that's the reality of it. They've got us all
Well,
of our own shadow when it comes to this cholesterol stuff.
they've been doing the mind game on us for decades, right? So,
Well, it's been 40 years since the food pyramid came out. It's been 60, 70 years since Ansel Keys opened his mouth.
yeah.
It's been around since I was a kid.
Yeah. Mitch, I'd like to go ahead and try and work through some of these comments and questions.
Yeah, time to wrap it up. I
We,
mean, we
we're
said well, I don't know, we'll go an hour, and here we are, an hour and a
Yeah,
half. But
I
that
mean,
always happens to me,
we're
though.
we're cranking right along. I'm having fun. I'm good to
Yeah,
go for a
this is what
while.
happens to me all the time. No, I'm ready
But
to relax the rest of the night. What do we got?
but
We still got
I would like
120
to try
people.
to respond to some of these
Go
folks. So
ahead.
Kingstone says, Mitch, why pasteurized eggs instead of conventional
Well,
ones?
I already answered that. I didn't say pasteurized. I said pasture raised
Oh, that's okay.
chickens.
Okay. All right. Good.
I answered them in the chat. Yeah, pasture
Gotcha.
raised. I guess it could sound like pasteurized. I said
Yeah.
pasture raised. Yeah, and
Depends what you're listening for,
I
right?
get them at Sam's Club, and that's and talk about fraud. I mean, they're I think the best eggs that you can get at Sam's Club. But right on the package
Hmm.
of pasture raised eggs is a big, bold, 100% vegetarian fed, which is exactly the opposite of what a chicken eats when you turn them loose in a pasture.
When you let them pick, yeah.
He eats worms and grubs and
Uh,
insects,
yeah.
and you know.
Yeah.
So to show you how crooked this whole labeling and it's all designed to tell you what you want to hear
Hmm.
because they know that you don't know
And if they
what it's
put
all
the
about.
particular thing on the label, they can jack up the prices because
Yeah, can you
people go,
imagine going and picking up the average housewife picks up a carton of eggs and sees on it pictures of insects, worms, and grubs, and it says chickens fed insects, worms, and grubs. She'd throw it away. She wouldn't touch
right?
it. But that's what makes them healthy is that they are carnivore. Well, they're omnivores, but they eat
Yeah.
a lot of they need to eat the insects. But anyway, they're the best eggs I could find. They're
Mhm.
brown eggs. They have nice yellow yolks. But even then, they put some of the stuff in the chicken feed that actually turns the yolks color.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
What's
Coco
the next one?
says socializing is challenging. Most people don't relate to carnivore, makes it a bit challenging, at least for me. I can identify that with you on that one, Coco, 100%. I think Mitch makes it sound like he just avoids socializing if it has to do with food.
There you go.
Uh,
Become a hermit. You'll have no problem.
yeah.
I don't
Uh,
go to. I just don't go. I've become a hermit almost.
yeah.
Well, if you get to know me, you'll know that I have very little in common with most people anyway. So
Well, I find, as you do it, you can develop circles of people that kind of get that you do your own thing. My family is very conscious of what's going on with me, and over time you can change it, but it is always a factor out there. Chris asks, "Do you drink any alcohol?"
never did.
No.
Never
Okay.
did. I was in the army, stationed over in Turkey, in a field station on a hill, and while I was there, they decided to close the field station and move out, and the Turks wouldn't let us take anything out of the country that we brought in, and we had an NCO club full of liquor. And the last 30 days we were on that base, it was free booze, half a dozen drinks at a time. And the entire base spent, including me, spent the last 30 days drunk on our asses. I got so sick that after that, I couldn't look at an alcoholic drink ever again for the rest of my life. That's a
Mm,
true, it's a true story. And I
mhm.
just can't even stand the thought, which is lucky for me.
Yeah.
I mean, sugar addiction is bad enough. I can't imagine being a sugar addicted alcoholic too.
Yeah. Well, my answer, I have never been really into drinking. I am a person who likes to be in control, and the idea of losing control is not enticing to me. So, while I have a drink from time to time, it's not something I really go out of my way for or enjoy. It's very rare. And so it's not like I'm giving anything up by trying to not uh, have alcohol. So good question.
It's
But-
tough to kick two addictions at
mm,
once. In
mhm.
fact, the ploy that most people use when kicking an addiction is change switching addictions to a
Pick
different
pick up
substance.
another
Well,
one.
I mean, you go to an
Hopefully a
Alcoholics
better one.
Anonymous meeting and everybody's smoking like crazy because that's
Mm,
so giving up two of them is a Superman kind of thing. So
yeah.
do the best you can.
Well,
I've heard that a lot of people say that carnivore really lessens their cravings for alcohol, but that's just third hand. I don't know if that's
mm,
true or not.
Spinning Wheels Road Travels says, "How much of this crow's iodine do you take?"
I do a drop a day,
Okay.
1500 mics. I don't know if I need it or not. I just do it. My TSH was in the range, but on the upper end. I might not need it.
Hmm.
That's a thyroid specific hormone. So I just put it in my first cup of coffee in the morning, one drop. You don't even know it's there. That one little bottle that you buy from Amazon will last you the rest of your life, for God's sakes.
um, yeah, I've never had to take iodine, so I have nothing to add to that. Thank you for the question. Um, Sean says, "Yes, I certainly have a story, and it is about reversing my blindness. I did a
Wow.
video with Dave Mack.
Oh,
You
okay.
can find it, and he can find it as Carnivore. Suddenly,
Well, I,
I see
Dave
again."
Mack, go get in touch with Dave Mack. He's your could be your entry into the YouTube community. You know, it's great if you have a mentor, if you have somebody that's been around in the community for a while to
Yeah.
talk about you, and you get into the chats on their videos and you help them out, and it really makes it easier on you. It makes you more comfortable. You don't feel like
Hmm.
you're so alone. Don't bug them too much, but that if he's already interviewed you and you've got a story about carnivore curing your blindness, man, you're a natural for this.
Yeah.
I'd go for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Jay likes it, and Michael likes it too.
There you go. You got a couple subs
and
already.
and then Sean came back and told us the channel name is Eyes on Carnivore.
That's
So
great. That's a great name.
everybody who just heard that, go take a look, and only subscribe if you're going to watch every single video. I'm just kidding.
All right. All right.
we,
Behave.
we should definitely give him a shout out and a look and check out his channel.
I agree.
Um, well, I said his, but Sean is spelled Shaun. Is that a? I'm not sure if that's a female or a male spelling,
Could
so
be. I
could
don't
be
know.
either.
You got me on that one.
Um, all right. Pearl
Mitch,
says, "I loved your humorous comment to the vegans."
I'm not too hard. I'm not really too hard on vegans. I understand the mentality, and I just don't like them when they get militant
Mm,
and they do some crazy stuff like sitting down in the middle of the road blocking interstates or going into somebody's store and pouring milk all over everything in their store, with signs and that kind of stuff. I don't, but they're entitled to eat whatever they want to eat, and if they think it's good for them, that's fine. I tell you, the only thing that I've noticed is I see a lot of videos about ex-vegans have gone carnivore and fixed a lot of things, but I haven't seen the first video yet, not one, of a carnivore that says carnivore was killing me, so I went vegan. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm looking for it.
yeah, you're gonna have to look for a while. That's for sure.
Exactly, exactly. So that's anecdotal evidence that you can't argue with.
All right, scanning through the comments here.
You're cutting out. I can't hear you. I
Oh,
don't know if everybody
I'm
else can.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to read through, make sure
You're
I'm.
not even talking. You're
Yeah,
lip syncing. Okay, I
that
get
was
you.
my bad. Ian says, "Gave up alcohol and carbs cold turkey August 17th on
Good for
17th
you, Ann.
August."
Good
Yeah,
for you. Good for you.
super.
Good for you.
Josephine says, "Have an awesome day, everyone.
I see
Appreciate
that.
it. Carnivore made me stop drinking. The
Wow,
positive results
that's
on my
good.
brain function made something click in my mind." That is fantastic to hear.
I've heard that a
And
few times. I've heard that a few times.
breaking that cycle can be fantastic. Overall life quality right there. All right. Well, I think we reached the end of the chat queue, so we've responded to everybody.
There you go.
To everyone that's still hanging with us, there's still 126 of you, which
I know you hate to shut them down with 100
I,
plus people, don't you?
I really appreciate you guys coming to join us. I apologize. As an interviewer, I feel like I have failed to really put Mitch on the spot, but
Oh,
I've
come
gotten to
on.
know so much about him, and I appreciate you guys chiming in with your questions and your comments. Mitch, do you have anything else that you'd like to share before we sign off tonight?
Yeah. Thanks, Larry. I really had a great time. Oh man, no, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. This is fun. I mean, this is. I would rather watch a thing like this with people just having having a good time and interacting as opposed to a formal type question and answer thing. It's
Yeah,
easier. It's easier on both of us. Number one, it's
sure.
easier on me. I'm not put on the spot but yet I get to answer a lot of questions
Hmm.
and you get to participate
Yep.
more and it's more of a conversation than an interview. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. I
Mm,
really did. So I
great.
appreciate you having me on your channel, and I will have you on mine someday if you'd like to come.
Be happy to. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for spending the part of your evening with us, or daytime if you're somewhere else in the world. We really appreciate it. It's an honor that you invest your time sharing it with us, and that you participate in the chat. And I hope that anyone out there who is just considering the carnivore diet, I hope you can feel it. We believe it. We live it. Um, you need to give it a try. I believe everyone in the world should give it a shot. It might not be for everyone, but I haven't found anyone yet that regrets giving it a try. And so, um, thank you so much, and we'll wish you good night.